My name is Michael Crowley, and I'm playing Christopher Boone in The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
My name is Brett Aioli, and I play Ed Boone. He is the father of Christopher, the main character in the show.
My name is Bethany Miller, and I am playing Judy, Christopher's mother.
My name is Sarah Elizabeth Sickles, and I'm playing the role of Siobhan, who is Christopher's teacher. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is about a unique boy named Christopher who goes on a journey. He is faced with obstacles and challenges, and he rises to meet them.
Outside of this production, I work in college admissions. I just graduated from University of Delaware in May and found a job outside of graduation a couple months after, which was nice. So it's my daytime gig, and then every night or multiple nights a week I get to come here and be an actor, which is not a bad gig either.
Outside of this production, I am a proud public school teacher here in Cecil County, and I am a wife and a mom.
Outside of this production, I'm a technical writer for the Army.
I do a lot of things. I work for child drama workshops as a program director and actor educator, and I lead the children's ministry at my church, and I am a mom to 3 crazy kids.
My inspiration and motivation for doing theater has really just been a lifelong love of it and an interest as far back as I can remember, probably from my parents, interest mainly in movies, and then once you peel behind the curtain a little bit on how things are made, what goes into creating something, it was just something I was more and more interested in and just has stayed with me ever since being a child.
I was a very shy kid and got involved in theater as a way to build confidence. I loved having the words given to me, so I knew what to say and I didn't have to struggle with what to say in a given situation. I loved taking on different characters and having freedom on stage that I didn't have in my day-to-day life.
I kind of stumbled into theater when I was younger. It was never really an intention I had growing up. I always, liked the idea of it, but then about, I think it was sophomore year of high school, I did my first show. My sisters did theater and they were like, you should do it, I think you'd be good in it. I was like, why not? I'll just do it. And I auditioned and I got a role. I was Randolph McPhee in Bye Bye Birdie, so I felt very cool. Got to sing It's Sullivan and be a big ham on stage. So that was a lot of fun. And then I kept auditioning in high school, kept getting roles, which was pretty cool. And then continued on in that in college. I performed with the Harrington Theater Arts Company for all my 4 years at the University of Delaware. And now I'm here with Milburn.
I started singing when I was little at the church. My mother is an accomplished musician, and so there was a grand piano sitting in our living room, and I spent my childhood singing with her and with my brother and my dad. We're all singers, and so it was a quick transition into theater. So I've done theater since, I think my first play was in 2nd grade. I was Betty Bunny, and I was hooked. I've done theater and performed my whole life. I wound up majoring in elementary education and theater when I went to college, and I still use theater every day because I'm in front of an audience of 9 and 10-year-olds, so I have to keep them entertained as well. So I love it, and I'm very grateful that I still get to do it.
The way that working with Milburn Stone has been unique from other theaters I've worked with is the fact that it is affiliated with the college and has full-time staff, so there's, let's say, richer resources and availability. Most community theaters by their nature are always sort of struggling for resources, and everyone's volunteer, and there's crunches, and it feels like you're on more solid ground maybe. And maybe it feels almost like a next step up the food chain, that you have people that are able to be full-time dedicated to the enterprise instead of being like yourself, a volunteer who's trying to put as much into it as possible whenever, you know, you're not working or doing other things. So it feels, you know, good to be a part of that.
Milburn Stone has been wonderful to work with. I have loved working with the entire production team and everyone in the cast. It's just been a joy. Everything's run so smoothly and so well here, and I've just really appreciated being a part of this production.
It's been great so far. This is only my second production with MST. My first role was Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar, which was pretty awesome to be like a rock star a couple nights or a couple times a week. But my experience here has been pretty great. Everyone here, it's a very close-knit crowd, and everyone's very passionate about what they do, which keeps me inspired as an actor.
I've done a number of productions here over the course of the last several years, and it's always a very professional production. I know that the audiences that come to Milburn Stone know that they are going to get a good show no matter what it is, and as a theater goer myself, I always enjoy the productions here because I know they're going to be good quality.
Pretty much as soon as I knew this show was happening at MST, I jumped at the opportunity and messaged people and was like, when are auditions? I need to know. So I auditioned, and as soon as I got the call that I got the role, pretty much I said, for the next couple months until the show, I need to just kind of dedicate my life to studying what it means to be autistic, because I knew that this show could go one of two ways, depending on how I approached it. It could end up being a really truthful, authentic telling of, you know, Christopher's story, and be a narrative that I think is important and needs to be told more. Or it could be a mockery, and that's something I didn't want at all and wanted to avoid at all costs. So I pretty much started, like I said, right when I got the role, I reached out at the University of Delaware, there's a program called Spectrum Scholars it's as a support resource for students with autism. I reached out to some students there and met up with some of them. I know Sam Rosenthal, I met with her a couple times, a student at University of Delaware, just to talk about their own experience, what autism means to them, how it's affected their lives. I really feel thankful in this day and age. Technology has its ups and downs and benefits, but YouTube, a lot of people document their experience having autism, whether it be, you know, the person with autism or their family members, creating accounts just dedicated to spreading awareness and telling truthful accounts of their own experience with autism and how it's affected their lives. So I've watched a lot of people's accounts on YouTube. I met with a couple performers from the rep at the University of Delaware as well, just to talk about physicality, characterization, vocally, how to change my voice for the role. So yeah, lots of homework, which I think is always important for any role you do. Is just as important as what is on the stage is the homework you do before that informs your performance.
It's been a while since I've done a show where I needed to have an accent. So there's been some prep work getting the accent right. That has been a lot of time going over individual lines and even individual words, thinking about how should this be pronounced, watching videos to see if I'm doing it correctly.
One of the big things I focused on in preparing for the show, or that I was concerned about, was doing a believable accent, because the show that I did prior to this also involved an English accent, but it was a wacky comedy, so it was okay if it was a silly sort of caricature, cartoonish accent, because this is a little more, even though it's completely subjective from Christopher's point of view, I still wanted it to be genuine as an accent instead of being some silly general thing. And so that was something that I hope that I can deliver, you know, something that's, if not authentic, at least believable, and not, you know, a silly accent, but rather something that sounds like a real person going through real things with a real voice.
From day one, Dane has encouraged us to take this story very seriously and to do it justice. And it's been such a cool process to immerse ourselves into the mind of Christopher and into the world he inhabits and the family he interacts with and the strangers he meets. And we've been encouraged to really take a breath and allow ourselves to experience what he's experiencing and imagine what that world is like on a day-to-day basis.
As a teacher, I've worked with so many different kinds of students over the years, and at some point somebody put the book in my hands and said, as a teacher, you need to read this book. And I did, and I loved it, and found so much wisdom in it that I was able to take into my classroom working with all kinds of students.
This show is very close to the novel, I would say. It, even in the style of writing, is very similar to the style that we present in the play.
I think this show is important to help people's understanding of people who think differently, people who look at the world differently, and it's important to understand the challenges that those people face, and it's important to understand that you can't underestimate those people and their challenges because they can accomplish everything that anybody else can accomplish. This show has an important message of acceptance and encouragement for anybody to try to work towards their goals.
Someone should come see this show because at its core, it's a murder mystery, which is always kind of fun to have that suspense and that murder mystery feel in a show. But one of the taglines of the show is "See Your World Differently," which I've thought more about, and it's honestly, this show is so unique in that you really are stepping into an entirely different reality. You're stepping into Christopher's reality, which I think is quite a beautiful reality. Myself getting to actually step into it every night, multiple times a week. And so really, the purpose of art in general is to broaden the lens through which you see the world by looking at it through someone else's eyes and building empathy. So I really think people will be changed for the better after coming to see the show, and they will see their world differently. I know I did after I read the novel a long time ago and thought that was an amazing piece of literature, and then I actually got to see it in London when I studied there for a bit in college, and it was deeply, deeply moving. I remember thinking about it multiple days, even weeks after I saw it, just because I thought it was a profound piece of theater. And so I think other theater goers might have the same experience.
To see something that's different than probably what they're expecting, or that if you feel like you've gone to see live performances and it's the same thing over and over again, this is probably something that'll be a unique perspective, a unique production, something that's not a straightforward several people on a set that looks like a living room or looks like a factory, just going around and acting naturalistically. This is something that'll be a much more unique experience.
I think what makes the show unique is the fact that it's from the perspective of someone on the autism spectrum, and everything about the show. A lot of shows that you see, you're looking onto it from a third-person perspective, but in the show, you're really in the head of Christopher, from everything, from the technical aspects as well. I just think this is such a brilliantly written script. It was a brilliantly written book, and the script is geniusly crafted, how they really put you in the mind of Christopher. So I think that's really special, and something that, again, I think good art exercises your ability to empathize, and this really puts you in his shoes and lets you see the world through his eyes.
All of our posters say, "See your world differently." And this show truly allows you to experience the world through a different lens for just 2 hours of your day, to sit and be immersed in Christopher's mind and world, and And I think this show encourages empathy in a deeper way than some shows do, because of the nature of the staging and what you are forced to focus on, the tension that is created as Christopher is feeling tension. It just allows an audience to truly experience life from another perspective. And I think that's a really healthy thing to do as a human.
This show is unique. This show is special, in large part because of the technical elements that you're going to see in this show. To tell this story, there is so much imagination and creativity involved, and so the technical elements of this show are going to blow audiences away.
The staging of this show is incredibly unique. The fact that the entire staging is around Christopher's mind and how it processes. So there will be projections and the movement of scenery. Everything is created to give the feel of what he is thinking and processing and feeling. So it's a very unique staging for a show.
Coming into the story from playing Christopher's father, the perspective that I took from what it ended up meaning the most to me was connecting with people, because Christopher, being on the autism spectrum, it is a challenge for him to connect with people, and being in the role of his father, dealing with that emotional challenge of not feeling like you can really connect with your own son and having to sort of reconfigure your life around that, and then taking that to other steps with how it relates to all the other relationships. There's also the relationship with Christopher's mother and the difficulty that the mother and father had connecting. And so to me, it is about challenges connecting with other people.
The story is about love to me, and learning to love individuals for who they are, flaws and all. Christopher is flawed. His mom, who I play, is flawed. His dad is flawed. Everyone has their own stuff that they're dealing with, that they're struggling with, and it's about seeing the perspective of another and learning to love and understand their experiences and who they are and their value as a human.
This story is special to me because it's portraying something that I get to do every day. As a teacher in my real life, I get to cheer for kids. I get to encourage them and show them how they can reach their goals. And this is a character that cheers Christopher on during his entire journey. Even though I'm not always right next to him, I'm always there. I think that parallels a lot with what I do in real life as a teacher in the classroom. I hope that the skills and the knowledge that I give to my students are ones that they can carry on into their real life, and that's something that we see Christopher do when he takes his journey. He's taking those lessons from his teacher, what he's learned from the people who love him, and he's taking those lessons with him and applying them in real life, which is any teacher's dream.
The show for me, especially with the unique perspective of getting to be Christopher multiple times a week, is about courage. I think Christopher is an incredibly courageous character, which I love about him. And even the things that scare him in life, he steps into his fear and tackles them head on, which I love about him. The character of Christopher, I think, has changed me in that I look at life differently. you know, with more curiosity, with more imagination. I love getting to kind of tap into that Christopher side of my brain and have a wonder about the world around me, which, yeah, I don't know.
This show is the story of a teenage boy and the people who love him, who are very flawed, the people he meets and how he processes their involvement in his world. It's the story of him learning to own who he is and what he can do in this world and discovering his potential.
This is not a show that you're going to get a chance to see very often because there aren't very many theaters that are going to take on the challenge of this show. So you need to see it while you can.
Instead, you're going to see something different because it's from Christopher's point of view. It's not an objective, the audience's point of view looking at what's happening on the stage. It is created around the idea of experiencing the world as Christopher experiences it. And so that would be a unique experience for most audiences.
To someone seeing the show for the first time, I'd say bring tissues, because I remember when I first saw it, I was bawling, especially by the end of the show, just because, I mean, you go on a journey with Christopher, and there are ups and downs and peaks and valleys, but by the end, it's an emotional experience, and I think the audience is all really there. This show has a really great power of unifying an entire audience and just having them all be there for Christopher and celebrating Christopher and I. That ends a tearjerker. I, as Michael, find it difficult to not cry at the end just because I won't give anything away. It's a beautiful ending. But I, as Christopher, I don't think that would be Christopher's response at the end. So I have to really try and stay present in the moment to not shed a little tear. But yeah, I think just Christopher, it's hard not to fall in love with Christopher. I love him so much, and getting to play him has been awesome. I think not being him once all the shows are over, I think is gonna be hard.
This is a chance to see something beautiful, to see something moving, to see something that could change your perspective on the people you encounter and the life you're living. And anything that could do that is worth seeing, in my opinion.